Scout Captain Kim Hana sat in her small ship called the Silent Wing, floating quietly through space between the stars. She'd been doing this job for 3 years now, flying alone through the dark emptiness to find new worlds for humans to live on. Her ship was not very big, just large enough for one person and the equipment she needed to study planets and star systems. Hana was 28 years old and had spent more time flying alone in space than most pilots who were much older. She was good at her job and never got scared, even when she was very far from home. The other human scouts respected her because she always finished her missions and never gave up when things got difficult. Today, she was checking a star system called Kepler 442. Her job was simple: look for planets where humans could build new homes, check if there were any dangerous aliens nearby, and make maps of everything she found. Humans had only been traveling between stars for 50 years, so they were still new compared to the other alien races in the galaxy. Most aliens thought humans were not very strong or smart. They saw humans as newcomers who did not know much about space and could not fight very well. Some aliens were friendly and liked to trade with human colonies, but they did not think humans would ever become very powerful. As Hana flew toward the big gas planet in the system, her computer started beeping. She looked at the screen and saw something strange. There were huge metal structures floating around the planet, but they did not look like anything humans had ever built. They were not in any of the pictures or files that humans had collected about alien buildings. The structures looked like they were used for mining, but they were built in a way that seemed both beautiful and scary. They reminded Hana of the skeleton of some giant space monster, all sharp edges and curved metal that seemed to move even when it was still. Hana pressed a button to call her commanders back on the human worlds. "This is Scout Silent Wing calling command. I found something strange. In system Kepler 442. There are alien buildings here that we have never seen before. They do not match anything in our..." Suddenly her words stopped. Around her small ship, bigger ships appeared like magic. They were long and thin like knives, and their metal skin seemed to eat light instead of reflecting it. The alien ships moved around her like sharks swimming around something they wanted to eat. A rough, angry voice came through her radio. The alien was speaking a language she did not know, but her computer changed the words into human language. "Human ship, you are now in Cathera space. Give up now or we will destroy you." Hana had been trained for situations like this. She quickly started sending all the information about the alien structures back to human space, while also turning on her ship's small weapons. The Silent Wing was not built for fighting, but every human ship had some guns, just in case they met unfriendly aliens. "This is neutral space according to the rules all species agreed to follow," Hana said, trying to keep her voice calm even though her heart was beating very fast. "I am just doing scientific research," and bright energy beams shot out from the alien ships and hit her engines and radio. The Silent Wing went dark and quiet, with only red emergency lights giving any light. Hana realized she was in serious trouble. The biggest alien ship, which was much larger than her tiny scout vessel, stretched out a long tube to connect with her ship. Through the clear walls of the tube, Hana could see tall creatures walking toward her. They looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs, with yellow eyes like a cat and sharp claws on their hands. The leader of the aliens stepped onto her ship. He was very tall and moved like a hunter who knew he had caught his prey. His name was Warlord Vexar, and his people were called the Kithera. They had built a big empire by making other weaker alien races into their slaves, and they thought humans would be perfect for this too. "You humans are interesting to us," Vexar said through a machine that changed his words into human language. "You have so few ships and so few worlds, but you keep spreading to new places like some kind of disease. We want to study you very carefully." Hana looked directly into his yellow eyes without showing any fear, which seemed to confuse the alien leader. Most other species became very scared when they met the Kithara, but this small human woman did not act afraid at all. She just watched him like she was trying to figure out how dangerous he was. The Kithera soldiers grabbed Hana and put metal restraints on her hands and feet. As they were dragging her away from her ship, she managed to touch a small hidden button. near her chair. It was an emergency signal device so small that the alien scanners had not found it. The signal was very weak, but it carried two very important pieces of information back to human space: where she was and one single word that would change everything. The word was taken. The aliens did not know it yet, but they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Admiral Park Minho was sleeping in his bed at Terra Nova Command when his computer started making loud warning sounds. It was very early in the morning, only 3:47, but he jumped up immediately when he heard the emergency signal. He had been a space commander for 40 years, ever since humans first started traveling between stars. But he had never heard this particular alarm before. The message that woke him up was short, but terrible. Scout Kim Hana had been captured by unknown aliens. Her last transmission showed alien structures, a hostile contact, and then nothing. But what the aliens who took her did not understand was that they had just done something that would wake up something very old and dangerous in all humans. Within 6 hours, something amazing started happening across all the human worlds. People who had never met Kim Hana suddenly felt like they had to help her. It was like an invisible signal had been sent to every human in the galaxy, telling them that one of their own was in trouble. On the world called New Busan, colonial administrator, Lee Sumi watched in surprise as miners stopped their work and started putting weapons on their cargo ships. These were people who had never fought in a war before, but they suddenly knew exactly what to do. On another world called New Seoul, factory workers who normally made tools for building new cities suddenly started making armor and weapons instead. Nobody had ordered them to do this. Nobody had even asked them to help. But somehow every human felt the same thing. One of their people had been taken, and this could not be allowed to continue. Scientists who studied human behavior would later say that humans still carried old memories in their genes from when they lived on Earth. These memories came from the time when humans had to hunt together in groups to survive. When one member of the group was in danger, all the others would come to help, no matter how far away they were. Captain Cho Daeho was flying his big warship called Iron Mountain near the edge of human space when he got his new orders. The message was very simple. All ships come to coordinates 247-1588. Scout Kim Hana has been taken by enemies. Use priority alpha protocols. The message was short, but every human who received it understood exactly what it meant. One of their family was in enemy hands and they would get her back. Meanwhile, far away on the alien ship called Bone Render, Hana was being questioned by warlord Vexar. The alien leader had expected her to be scared and crying, like most prisoners from other species. Instead, he found a human who looked at him with calm, steady eyes, like she was studying an interesting animal at a zoo. Vexar used painful machines on Hana that should have made her scream and beg for mercy. But instead, she just watched him, quietly, like she was waiting for something to happen. "Your colony worlds will make excellent places for slaves," Vexar said, trying to scare her. "Your species is too weak to fight against the Kithra Dominion." Hana smiled a little, but her eyes stayed cold and serious. "You have no idea what you just woke up." Vexar thought she was just trying to act brave, like many prisoners did before they broke down and told him everything he wanted to know. But something about the way she said it made him feel uncomfortable. In all his years of conquering other species, prey animals did not make threats. They begged and cried and promised to do whatever he wanted. As the first human warships started, appearing at the edge of Kithera space, Vexar began to see something that worried him. The human ships were not flying in the normal patterns that military fleets usually used. Instead, they moved like they were following some ancient instinct, like a pack of wild animals hunting together. The human ships came from many different worlds and had never worked together before, but somehow they moved in perfect coordination. It was like they all knew the same secret dance, passed down through their genes from their ancestors who had hunted together on Earth millions of years ago. More and more human ships kept arriving, and they all moved with the same strange instinctual patterns. Cargo ships that had been carrying food and supplies between planets suddenly had weapons attached to them. Mining ships that had been digging for metals in asteroids now carried bombs and missiles. But the most frightening thing for Vexar was not the number of ships or their weapons. It was the way they moved together like parts of one giant creature that was slowly waking up and getting angry. The humans were not just coming to rescue one scout. They were coming to hunt the people who had dared to touch one of their pack. And once the hunt began, Vexar was starting to realize it might not end until every Cathera in the galaxy was dead or hiding. The alien warlord looked at his prisoner again, and for the first time in his long career of conquest and cruelty, he began to feel afraid. Admiral Park Min-ho stood on the bridge of his huge battleship called Thunder Mountain, looking at the computer screens that showed him where all the human ships were. What had started as a mission to save one person was turning into something much bigger and more dangerous, a hunt that involved humans from all across the galaxy. The human fleet was growing bigger every hour as more ships came out of hyperspace. Ships that had never fought together before were suddenly working as a perfect team. It was like they all shared the same brain, moving in patterns that seemed to come from deep inside their bodies rather than from any military training. Captain Yunjiwoo was commanding a smaller warship called Storm Rider at the front of the fleet. She sent a message to Admiral Min-ho. "Sir, we can see Cathara battle groups moving to attack us. They are using normal fighting tactics, big ships in front, smaller support ships behind them." Min-ho studied the way the alien ships were arranged, and suddenly understood something. It was like a switch had been turned on in his mind, showing him knowledge he did not know he had. "All ships, spread out in pattern 7. We are not going to fight like other species do." The Cathera fleet was very confident as they moved to fight the humans. They had better technology and more experience in space battles. Warlord Kexhan, who was second in command to Vexar, led the alien ships with the casual attitude of a predator who thought he was about to catch some helpless prey animals. "These humans fight like weak herbivores," Kexhan told his crew as the two fleets got closer to each other. "We will crush them easily and then take their worlds for our empire." But when the first battle started, Kexhan quickly learned that his ideas about human fighting were completely wrong. Instead of staying in neat formations and shooting at each other from far away like civilized species did, the human ships did something that no other aliens had ever seen before. The human ships scattered in all directions like a school of fish. When a shark attacks, then suddenly came back together to attack the alien ships from angles they had not expected. Mining ships that had been fitted with weapons rammed directly into Cathera vessels, while smaller human ships darted around like angry wasps, hitting the big alien ships in their weak spots. What scared the aliens most was that the humans did not seem to care about their own safety. When a human cruiser called New Gangwon found itself surrounded by 3 Cathera destroyers, its captain did not try to run away. Instead, he made his ship's reactor explode and crashed into the biggest enemy ship, destroying both vessels in a bright explosion that cleared the way for his fellow humans to attack. On the bone render, Hana watched her captors becoming more and more nervous. The Kithara crew, who had been proud and confident before, now moved around the ship like scared animals. They had expected to capture a helpless prey species, but the reports coming in from the battle told a very different story. "Your pack fighting methods are very strange," Vexar admitted during another questioning session. The painful machines he had been using on Hana had not broken her spirit, and the way she looked at him was starting to make him feel uncomfortable. "We are persistence hunters," Hana said calmly. "We do not give up. We do not make deals with enemies. We do not forget when someone hurts us. And we never ever leave our family behind." Vexar was beginning to understand that he had not captured a simple scout. He had gotten the attention of something much more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The first big battle ended with Kexhan's entire battle group being destroyed. The few Cathara ships that survived ran away deeper into their own territory, carrying terrible news about an enemy that fought like no other species in the galaxy. Humans did not treat war like a political game or a business transaction. To them, it was hunting, and they were very, very good at hunting. All across this part of the galaxy, other alien species heard about what had happened and started to worry. The Cathara Dominion was known for having a powerful military and for being ruthless conquerors. If these peaceful human colonists could defeat them so easily, what did that say about humanity's true nature? Some aliens who had been enslaved by the Kithara began to hope that maybe, finally, Someone strong enough to defeat their oppressors had arrived. Others, who had dismissed humans as weak and unimportant, began to reconsider their opinions. The galactic community was starting to realize that they had completely misunderstood what humans were. They were not the harmless newcomers that everyone had thought. They were something much more dangerous, predators who had chosen to be peaceful, but who could become deadly hunters when their family was threatened. And now the hunt was just beginning. News about the Kythera defeat spread quickly across all the human worlds like fire spreading through dry grass. Something amazing and frightening was happening to humans everywhere. People who had never been soldiers suddenly felt like they had to help save Kim Hana, even though most of them had never heard her name before. On the world called New Gwangju, a factory worker named Han So-jin found herself working 18 hours every day, making parts for warships. She had never built weapons before, but somehow her hands knew exactly what to do. The work felt natural and necessary, like breathing or eating. One of her people was in enemy hands, and every human felt the need to respond. The human fleet kept getting bigger as ships arrived from the farthest colonies in human space. Each ship carried crews who were driven by an instinct they could not explain, but could not ignore. An engineer named Lim Tai-hyung left his job building new cities on New Ulsan to put weapons on cargo ships. A school teacher named Nam Hyeri organized supply runs from the farming worlds, making sure the growing war fleet had enough food and materials. What made alien observers most worried was how perfectly all the humans worked together. People from colonies that rarely talked to each other were cooperating like they had practiced together for years. It was as if they were all following instructions written in their blood. Warlord Vexar, now facing hundreds of human ships instead of just a few, decided to try a different approach. He made a video broadcast showing Kim Hana as his prisoner and sent it to all the human worlds. He thought that seeing their captured scout would make the humans scared and willing to negotiate for her release. The broadcast had the exact opposite effect that Vexar had hoped for. Across human space, seeing their fellow human, bruised, but not broken, defiant even while being held prisoner, made every person furious in a way they had never felt before. Government leaders who had been urging caution suddenly called for total war. Military commanders who had planned careful, limited attacks began preparing for complete conquest of Kythera space. Captain Song Minwoo, commanding a big warship called Iron Tiger, spoke for many humans when he said, "They want to show us what they have done to one of ours? Fine. Let us show them what happens when you make that kind of mistake." On the bone render, Hana had become more than just a prisoner. Her presence seemed to spread fear among the Kythera crew like a disease. Even though she was locked in a cell and could not hurt anyone, the alien soldiers became more and more afraid of her. Guards began to avoid looking at her directly, and several asked to be moved to different jobs so they would not have to be near her. During what Vexar planned to be his final questioning session, Hana spoke with calm certainty that made the alien warlord's blood run cold. "You wanted to study humans, so here is your lesson. We are pack hunters. We evolved to chase prey across entire continents, to coordinate hunts across vast distances, to never give up until the hunt is finished. You took one member of the pack." Vexar tried to look threatening and powerful, but his confidence was cracking as he processed her words. Through the windows of his ship, he could see the growing human fleet, hundreds of ships moving in perfect coordination, even though they came from dozens of different worlds that were very far apart. "What do you want from us?" Vexar finally asked, and for the first time his voice showed fear. Hana's smile was gentle and absolutely terrifying at the same time. "We want you to understand that some mistakes cannot be fixed." The Kythera Dominion sent out calls for help to all the alien species they controlled, but found that many of their subject races were either refusing to help or actually working against them. Word had spread throughout the galaxy that humans freed conquered worlds instead of enslaving them. This made humans heroes to oppressed populations everywhere in this part of space. Many alien slaves began sabotaging Kythera supply lines and weapons factories. Some even sent secret messages to the human fleet, offering to help them navigate through Kythera territory. The reputation of humans as liberators was spreading faster than their ships could travel. As the human armada approached the Cathara, home star system, moving in formations that seemed to follow hunting instincts older than civilization itself, Vexar realized that his simple act of cruelty had awakened something that might destroy his entire empire. The humans were not just coming to rescue one scout anymore. They were coming to end the Cathara Dominion's reign of terror once and for all. And looking at the way the human ships moved together like parts of one giant predator, Vexar began to understand that his species might have picked a fight with the most dangerous hunters in the known galaxy. The pack had been awakened, and now nothing would stop them from completing their hunt. The final battle exploded in the space around Cathara Prime, the homeworld of the empire that had terrorized this part of the galaxy for 300 years. Admiral Park Minho stood on the bridge of Thunder Mountain, surrounded by glowing computer screens that showed the largest human fleet ever assembled, over 800 ships representing every colony in human space. What should have been a desperate mission to save one person had grown into something unprecedented in galactic history. An entire species had mobilized to recover a single individual, and now they were here to finish what the Cathara had started. The Cathara home fleet had many more ships than the humans, but numbers did not matter against an enemy that fought like Earth's most dangerous predators. Human ships moved in coordinated packs, using patience and persistence to wear down their prey like wolves hunting a mammoth. They targeted Cathara command ships with surgical precision, destroyed supply lines with ruthless efficiency, and used psychological warfare that left alien crews paralyzed with terror. Captain Cho Daeho led Iron Mountain in a flanking attack. That showed humanity's evolved pack tactics perfectly. Instead of fighting the huge Cathara dreadnoughts head-on, his squadron disabled their support vessels first, leaving the massive ships isolated and vulnerable. When the alien commanders realized their careful formations had been systematically torn apart, panic spread through their ranks like wildfire. On the bone render, Hana felt the flagship shaking as human weapons hit its hull. Her guards had run away from their posts, leaving her alone in her cell as the ship came under heavy attack. She had spent weeks quietly undermining Cathara morale, using their own fears against them, and now her psychological warfare was complete. When the cell door finally opened, it was not Vexar who entered, but Captain Kim Jiho of the assault team that had boarded the flagship. He was wearing human combat armor and carrying weapons that looked much more advanced than anything the Cathara had seen before. "Time to go home, Scout," he said simply, cutting through her restraints with a plasma torch. Hana's reunion with the human fleet was emotional and touching, but Admiral Minho knew the mission was not finished yet. Through open communication channels that reached every Cathara ship in the system, he addressed the remaining alien forces with words that would echo through galactic history. "You have a choice," Minho said, his voice calm but carrying the weight of 800 warships behind it. "Surrender completely, release all enslaved species under your control, and face trial for your crimes, or face the full response of humanity, not just our military, but our entire species. We are patient, we are persistent, and we do not forgive those who harm our pack." The threat was not empty. Across human space, millions of people were still working around the clock to support the war effort. Factory worlds were producing weapons at an impossible pace. Agricultural colonies were growing food to feed the largest military operation in human history. Every human settlement, no matter how small or remote, was contributing to the hunt. The Cathara Dominion, faced with an enemy that fought like no other species they had ever encountered, made their decision within hours. Centuries of expansion and conquest ended not with a grand final battle, but with complete surrender. They had awakened something far more dangerous than they could handle, and they knew it. The surrender came with conditions that shocked the galactic community. The Cathara would not only release all their slave species, but would also pay reparations for centuries of cruelty. Their military would be disbanded, their weapons destroyed, and their territory would be occupied by human peacekeeping forces until a new government could be established. Other alien empires throughout the galaxy watched these events with growing concern, If humans could force the mighty Cathera Dominion to surrender completely over the capture of one scout, what did that say about humanity's true power? In the aftermath, the galactic community struggled to understand what they had witnessed. Humanity was not the weak newcomer species everyone had assumed. They were evolved predators who had simply chosen civilization over conquest. The rescue of one scout had revealed that humans operated as pack hunters on a galactic scale, and threatening their people meant facing not just their military, but the awakened instincts of their entire species. Kim Hana returned to her duties as a scout, but now the Silent Wing flew with an escort of 3 destroyers. Her reports carried new weight in diplomatic circles, and alien species that had once dismissed humanity now treated human scouts with fearful respect. The galaxy had learned a critical lesson that would be remembered for generations. Some species choose to be peaceful not because they are weak, but because they understand the terrible consequences of awakening their true nature. Humanity had been content to explore and trade and build new homes among the stars, but when pushed, they revealed themselves as the most dangerous pack hunters in the known galaxy. One scout had been taken, an entire species had responded, and the balance of power in the galaxy would never be the same again. The hunt was over, but the memory of it would keep the peace for centuries to come.